Yeah, and it's a really interesting spot for the Edmonton Oilers. And you know what? It's man, just thinking about it, because you have McDavid, who's having one of the greatest point producing seasons we've ever seen, and we all know how great he is. He's the best player in the world. And they have Leon Draisaitl. He just won the MVP last year. But we've talked on this show countless times, especially me, Oilers fans. I think they want to do some very bad things to me at this point, based on some of the things I've said about their team. But
Yeah.
Lepore, man, the numbers just don't lie. When you look at this team and their production at 5-on-5 without McDavid on the ice, it is not pretty.
Yeah.
And this just isn't a very good team. And this is a team that should be, quite frankly, one of the Stanley Cup favorites this season. In a season like this, you have the best player on the planet on your roster playing like this. Like, this should be like a Stanley Cup or bust type season, right? Like, if this was happening with any other top team, it's like Stanley Cup or bust. But it's so interesting this season because you have this Oilers team, and I think Oilers fans deep down, I think they know that this team isn't really that good when you compare them. And listen, I don't want to say they suck and they're going to lose in the first round or anything like that. But when you compare them to Vegas and Colorado and Carolina and the Leafs and some of the teams that we all view as the Stanley Cup contenders, I just don't think the Oilers are there. So it's like, what's a successful season for this team? Yes, we're all happy that McDavid has 100 points in 53 games, and who knows how many points he's going to end up with. Like, I mean, it's going to be crazy to see what he does over these last few games. But like, if this team loses in the second round, Lepore, like, are Oilers fans just okay with it? And they're like, oh, well, we lost to
I don't
Toronto in the
know.
second round. It's all good. We'll just get them next year.
Yeah, so you're assuming it's Toronto in the second round. There, you said it.
Yeah, I'm just
I
gonna
don't
go
know,
go
man.
ahead and say it.
I think Oilers fans would be okay with that. I really do. I mean, if they get blown out by anyone, whether it would be at this point, say Toronto or Montreal, like no one wants to see their team get blown out. But I think if you told Oilers fans, and it's funny, it's so intriguing because from the perspective of the standings, like there's not that much difference between the Leafs and the Oilers. I mean, the Leafs have kind of broken away now, but for the most part, they're pretty neck and neck. But what's so interesting, I think, would be to ask those fan bases, what are your expectations on the season? And I think if you asked an Oilers fan, okay, you're going to win the first round, win the second round, and lose in the third round to an elite team in 6 games, they would be totally okay with that. I think they would be totally okay with that. They would take that right now. Whereas I think on the other side with the Leafs, that's like an expectation. We would be disappointed. Like if the Leafs win the first 2 rounds and lose a tight series, no one's smiling. Like we'll be like, well, our expectations were to win the first 2 rounds and we pushed the team a little in the third round. No. Like I think for the Leafs it'd be one further. If you told us we were going to lose in the final, it'd be like, yeah, we made the final. Like I think we'd be pretty okay. Well, it's kind of funny. I think we'd be pretty okay with losing in the
Yeah,
final.
as if
But
they make the Stanley Cup final
yeah,
like every few seasons.
yeah, but again, everyone knows what I mean by that. Like, I think that's a
Yeah,
point
for
where Leafs
sure.
fans would be content, like, or like happy, proud of their team. I guess is a good way to put it. Whereas for Oilers fans, let's say they beat the Jets, and if they lose to the Leafs, I don't think they're that bothered. I really don't. And comment down below if you think the opposite. If you think this team should go all the way and you expect them to go all the way, like let us have it, right? What your expectations are. But I just think based on the makeup of this team and where we kind of view them in terms of, when Kenny Holland was brought in, and it seems like they're doing different things with their lineup. I mean, the guy went on TV and said that it wasn't the time to make a deal at the deadline. So your GM just told you his expectations not to go all the way. His minimum standard is like his standards aren't that high. So that to me, that kind of is what it is. But Oilers fans, like, let us have it, man. I'd love for Oilers fans to tell me like what their expectations are and what would make them happy. What would put a smile on their face when they look back at this season.
And Lepore, you brought up a really good point, and I don't think that got enough play in the
Definitely.
media. But like, when you think about what Ken Holland said at the trade deadline, essentially conceding that his team wasn't good enough this season. Like just think about that for a second. And it's what I just talked about a few minutes ago. Think about that. Connor McDavid is the best player in the world, having one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen. And Ken Holland sits there on deadline day and essentially says the team isn't good enough to win a Stanley Cup.
And doing nothing would have been a big enough statement. Just doing nothing. Well, like that's what Dubas did last year. If I remember correctly, the deadline the day after the whole like David Ayres game.
It was like right around the same time.
Yeah, because it was kind of like that thing of like, you guys don't deserve to be added to.
Yeah, because it was late. I believe the David Ayres game, it was like the last week of February. It was like February 22nd or 23rd, something like that.
Okay, but yeah, like Dubas, I mean, he didn't have to say it out loud. He just kind of pointed and said, yeah, you guys don't deserve shit. I'm not giving up things for the future to make you guys better. And Ken Holland, like, actually said it. Like, so yeah, no, I'm with you. That didn't get enough play for sure. I mean,
yeah, it's just so fascinating to see how this season has unfolded for Edmonton, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to talk about as we head into the playoffs here.
Maybe, yeah.